Jake Morrison was standing in the crystal gardens of Zephyros, practicing his newly awakened abilities when the alarms began sounding across the planet. The musical tones that normally filled the air turned sharp and urgent as every Zephyrian in sight stopped what they were doing and looked toward the sky with expressions of fear and anger. Queen Lirelei materialized beside him in a flash of golden light, and Jake could feel her distress through their bond like a knife cutting through his mind. Her usual calm demeanor was gone, and her ethereal form flickered with agitation as she placed a protective hand over her glowing midsection where their child was growing. "What's happening?" Jake asked, though he already suspected the answer from the images flooding through their shared consciousness. Dark ships filled with malevolent energy were approaching the outer edge of the Zephyrian solar system, and their intentions were clearly hostile. "The Korthic Empire has found us," Queen Lirelei said, and her musical voice was tight with worry. "They have been our enemies for over 1,000 years, and they must have learned about our child." Warlord Vexstar would see the birth of a human Zephyrian hybrid as a threat to his people's dominance. Jake felt his enhanced abilities surge as adrenaline flooded his system. The psychic talents that had been slowly developing over the past months suddenly blazed to life, and he could sense the approaching enemy fleet as clearly as if he was looking at them through a telescope. Hundreds of massive warships built like flying fortresses were moving toward Zephyros with weapons charging and shields raised for battle. Dr. Sam Martinez came running through the gardens with Colonel Ryan Foster close behind him. Both men looked panicked, and Jake realized they must have felt the planet-wide alarm even without psychic abilities. "Commander, what's going on?" Colonel Foster demanded as he checked his weapon and scanned the sky for threats. "Every Zephyrian we've seen looks like they're preparing for war." "The Korthic Empire is coming, Ryan," Jake said grimly. "They're an enemy species that's been fighting the Zephyrians for centuries, and they're bringing a massive fleet to attack the planet." "Doctor." Martinez looked confused. "But why would they attack now? What's changed?" Queen Lirelei turned to face the human scientist, and Jake could see the fierce protectiveness of a mother burning in her luminous eyes. "They know about our child, Dr. Martinez. The Korthic believe that only their species deserves to rule the galaxy, and they see our hybrid offspring as an abomination that must be destroyed." Jake felt anger rising within him, both his own rage at the threat to his family and Queen Lirelei's fury at those who would harm their child. The golden glow around his hands intensified as his hybrid abilities responded to his emotions. "How long do we have before they arrive?" he asked. "Perhaps 6 hours," Queen Lirelei replied. "Our defense forces are already mobilizing, but the Korthic outnumber you greatly. This attack was planned specifically to overwhelm our protections." Colonel Foster was speaking rapidly into his communicator, trying to reach the Terra Nova, which was orbiting on the far side of the planet. "Commander Morrison, I'm calling for immediate evacuation. We need to get you and the science team off this world before the shooting starts." "No," Jake said firmly, and everyone turned to stare at him in surprise. "I'm not leaving. Queen Lirelei is carrying my child, and I won't abandon them when they need me most." "Commander, be reasonable," Colonel Foster argued. "You're a human military officer, not an alien warrior. There's nothing you can do here that will make a difference in this battle." Jake felt Queen Lirelei's hand slip into his, and suddenly he could see the situation through her enhanced perceptions. The approaching Korthic fleet was indeed massive, but there was something else, something the enemy didn't know about. The pregnancy had been changing both him and Queen Lirelei in ways that even the Zephyrians didn't fully understand. "Actually, Ryan, I think there might be something I can do," Jake said, as new understanding flooded through their bond. "The child we're carrying is developing abilities that neither species has ever possessed before. Those abilities are starting to awaken in both of us through the bonding process." Queen Lirelei nodded, and her form began to glow brighter. "The commander speaks truth. Our child exists in both physical and energy states simultaneously, and this dual nature is beginning to manifest in us as well. We may be able to affect the Korthik technology in ways they cannot predict or defend against. Dr. Martinez looked fascinated despite the danger. What kind of abilities are you talking about? How could they help against an entire fleet? Jake closed his eyes and reached out with his enhanced senses, feeling the approach of the enemy ships. He could perceive their electronic systems, their weapon arrays, and their shield generators as clearly as if they were extensions of his own body. "I can feel their ships, Doctor," he said quietly. "Every circuit, every power core, every computer system. And I think I can affect them." Queen Lirelei squeezed his hand, and Jake felt her consciousness merge more completely with his than ever before. Together they reached out across space toward the approaching fleet, and Jake gasped at what they discovered. The Korthik ships are completely dependent on their technology, Queen Lirelei said, as understanding dawned in her voice. Their species has no natural psychic abilities, and they have never encountered anything like what our child is creating within us. Jake opened his eyes and looked at Colonel Foster with new determination. "Get Dr. Martinez and the team to safety, Ryan, but don't evacuate the planet yet. I have a feeling this battle is going to be very different from what the Korthik are expecting." The Colonel looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Jake's voice made him reconsider. "What are you planning, Commander?" "Queen Lirelei and I are going to do something that's never been attempted before," Jake replied. "We're going to fight as a bonded pair using abilities that shouldn't exist yet." Dr. Martinez was taking notes furiously on his tablet. "This is incredible. If you can actually affect their technology psychically, it could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness and its interaction with electronic systems." Jake felt the baby stirring within Queen Lirelei's consciousness and realized that their child was somehow aware of the approaching danger. The unborn hybrid was already trying to help its parents defend their world, and Jake was amazed by the strength of will their offspring possessed even before birth. "The child wants to help," he said in wonder. "I can feel them reaching out through our bond, trying to add their developing abilities to ours." Queen Lirelei placed both hands on her glowing midsection and smiled despite the approaching danger. "Yes, my love is already a fighter like their human father. Together the three of us will show the Korthik that some bonds cannot be broken by violence." Jake looked up at the sky where the first enemy ships were beginning to appear as dark specks against the crystal blue atmosphere of Zephyros. In a few hours, the most important battle of his life would begin, and he would be fighting not just for the planet or the alliance between species, but for the future of his family and the incredible child who represented hope for both their peoples. "Let's show them what happens when you threaten a human's family," Jake said as golden energy began to flow around him like living starlight. Jake Morrison felt the familiar tingle of the transport beam as he materialized on the crystal platform of Zephyros once again. This time he was not alone as Dr. Sam Martinez and Colonel Ryan Foster appeared beside him along with a small team of scientists and security personnel. But Jake barely noticed his companions because his attention was completely focused on Queen Lirelei, who was waiting to greet them. The Queen looked more magnificent than ever, and Jake could see immediately that the pregnancy was progressing. Her ethereal form now had a warm golden glow that pulsed gently like a heartbeat, and there was something new in her eyes that Jake recognized as the look of an expectant mother. When their eyes met, Jake felt the bond between them surge with warmth and happiness. "My dear Commander," Queen Lirelei said as she approached, and Jake could hear the joy in her musical voice. "Welcome back to Zephyros. I have missed your presence these past weeks." Jake felt his cheeks warm as Dr. Martinez and Colonel Foster exchanged glances behind him. "Your Majesty, it's wonderful to see you again. May I present Dr. Sam Martinez, our chief xenobiologist, and Colonel Ryan Foster, our security advisor." Queen Lirelei nodded gracefully to both men. "Welcome to our world, Dr. Martinez and Colonel Foster. I hope your stay here will be both educational and comfortable. Commander Morrison has told me much about human curiosity, and I look forward to sharing our knowledge with you." Dr. Martinez stepped forward eagerly. "Your Majesty, thank you for allowing us to visit. I have so many questions about your species and about the pregnancy. This is the most exciting scientific opportunity in human history." The Queen smiled, and Jake felt her amusement through their bond. "I sense your enthusiasm, Doctor, and I will be happy to satisfy your curiosity. But first, I would like to speak privately with Commander Morrison. There are developments in our child's growth that I must share with him." Colonel Foster shifted uncomfortably. "Your Majesty, my orders are to maintain security for our delegation. I'm not sure separating the commander is wise." Queen Lyralay's expression remained kind, but Jake could sense a subtle change in her energy. "Colonel Foster, I understand your concerns, but I assure you that Commander Morrison is perfectly safe. On Zephyros, he is the father of my child, and as such he is now considered family by our entire civilization. No harm could possibly come to him here." Jake felt the truth of her words through their bond and placed a hand on Colonel Foster's shoulder. "It's all right, Ryan. I can feel that everything is safe here. The bond Queen Lyralay and I share lets me sense her intentions and emotions." The colonel looked skeptical but nodded reluctantly. "Very well, Commander, but I want regular check-ins every 2 hours." Queen Lyralay led Jake away from the landing platform toward the Great Crystal Temple while Dr. Martinez began excitedly questioning the Zephyrian scientists who had come to greet the human delegation. As they walked, Jake became aware of something he hadn't noticed during his first visit. The other Zephyrians they passed seemed to regard him with a mixture of curiosity and respect that felt almost like reverence. "They know, don't they?" Jake asked as they entered the temple. "About the pregnancy, I mean." "Of course," Queen Lyralay replied. "The bonding process creates energy patterns that all Zephyrians can sense. Our people are greatly excited about our child. It has been many centuries since we have successfully created a hybrid offspring." They reached the inner chamber of the temple, and Jake gasped at what he saw. The walls, which had shown swirling galaxies during his previous visit, now displayed something that looked like a three-dimensional map of a developing consciousness. Streams of light in gold and blue intertwined and pulsed, creating patterns that seemed almost musical. "This is our child," Queen Lyralay said softly as she gestured toward the display. "The gold represents the Zephyrian consciousness patterns, while the blue shows the human elements. See how beautifully they blend together." Jake stared at the display in wonder, feeling tears come to his eyes as he realized he was looking at his unborn child's mind developing in real time. "It's incredible. Are those thoughts we're seeing?" "Not thoughts exactly, but the foundation that thoughts will grow from," the Queen explained. "Your human creativity and curiosity are already visible in the blue patterns, while the gold shows our natural connection to energy and harmony. Our child will possess both qualities in perfect balance." As Jake watched the display, he began to understand something that made his breath catch. The child isn't just human and Zephyrian, is it? There's something else, something more. Queen Lyralay nodded, and her expression became more serious. "You are very perceptive, Commander. Yes, our child is developing abilities that neither of our species possesses alone. The combination of human adaptability and Zephyrian energy manipulation is creating something entirely new." She moved closer to the display, and Jake could see pride and wonder in her luminous features. "Watch this pattern here," she said, pointing to a section where the gold and blue lights seemed to dance around each other. "This shows our child developing the ability to exist in both physical and energy forms simultaneously. They will be able to interact with solid matter like humans, but also manipulate pure energy like Zephyrians." Jake felt a strange sensation in his mind, as if something was awakening there. "Is this why I've been experiencing changes? The enhanced reflexes and the dreams?" "Yes," Queen Lyralay said gently. "The bonding process is awakening dormant abilities in your human genetics. We suspected this might happen, which is one reason your species proved so compatible with ours. Humans have natural psychic potential that has been suppressed by evolution, but our child's development is reactivating those abilities in you." She reached out and took his hand just as she had during their first meeting. This time Jake felt the full force of their connection, and suddenly he could sense everything Queen Lirelei was feeling. Her love for their unborn child, her excitement about the future, and her deep affection for him washed over Jake like warm sunlight. "There is more, Commander," she said, and Jake could hear her thoughts as clearly as her voice. "Through our bond, you are gaining access to the collective memory of my people. You will learn our history, our science, and our understanding of the galaxy. This knowledge will help you guide our child as they grow." Jake felt his mind expanding as new information flowed into his consciousness. He saw visions of ancient Zephyrian. Cities spanning multiple worlds witnessed their first contact with dozens of alien species and understood their role as guardians and teachers throughout the galaxy. The knowledge was overwhelming, but somehow his human mind was adapting to contain it all. How is this possible? He asked, struggling to process the flood of new understanding. "Because you are no longer just human, Commander," Queen Lirelei replied with a smile. "The bonding process is slowly transforming you into something new, just as it is creating our child. You are becoming the first human Zephyrian hybrid adult, a bridge between our worlds." Jake looked at his hands and saw that they now had a faint golden glow similar to Queen Lirelei's energy signature. He realized that he was changing on a fundamental level, becoming something that had never existed before in the universe. "What happens now?" he asked, feeling both excited and scared by the transformation taking place within him. Queen Lirelei placed her other hand on her glowing midsection, where their child was developing. "Now we prepare for the next phase of the pregnancy and for the incredible future our child will create. The galaxy is about to change, Commander, and our family will be at the center of that change." Jake Morrison stood in the briefing room at Earth Defense Command Headquarters and watched as the today most powerful people in human government stared at him in complete silence. Admiral Patricia Cole sat at the head of the table with her fingers pressed together and her face showing no emotion at all. Senator Helen Brooks looked like she had just swallowed something sour, while Dr. Sam Martinez, the government's top xenobiologist, was scribbling notes frantically on his tablet. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Commander," Admiral Cole said slowly. "You're telling us that the alien queen is pregnant with your child, and that this happened during what you thought was a simple diplomatic handshake?" Jake nodded, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes, Admiral, that's correct." Queen Lirelei explained that the Zephyrian greeting ritual is actually a genetic compatibility test. When we touched, she was able to determine that human and Zephyrian DNA could successfully combine to create hybrid offspring. Senator Brooks leaned forward with anger clear in her voice. "This is absolutely unacceptable, Commander. You were sent on a diplomatic mission not to start an interspecies breeding program. Do you have any idea what kind of position this puts Earth in?" "With respect, Senator," Jake replied, "I had no way of knowing what the ritual involved." The Zephyrians presented it as a standard greeting between leaders, and I followed diplomatic protocol by accepting their customs. Dr. Martinez looked up from his tablet with excitement in his eyes. "This is actually fascinating from a scientific perspective. If what you're saying is true, Commander, this could represent the most significant advancement in our understanding of genetics and evolution in human history." Admiral Cole held up her hand to stop the discussion. "Dr. Martinez, while I appreciate your enthusiasm, we need to focus on the political and military implications of this situation. Commander Morrison, you said the Queen wants you to return to their world?" Jake felt a warm sensation in the back of his mind and knew that Queen Lirelei was trying to communicate with him through their developing bond. The feeling was getting stronger each day, and sometimes he could almost hear her thoughts mix with his own. "She's invited me to come back so I can better understand the pregnancy process, Admiral," Jake said. "Apparently, Zephyrian reproduction involves both parents sharing consciousness during the development period. I'm already starting to feel the connection, and it's getting stronger." Senator Brooks stood up abruptly and began pacing around the room. "This is a disaster waiting to happen. What if this is some kind of alien plot to infiltrate human society? What if they're using you as a spy? Or worse, what if this hybrid child is designed to be some kind of weapon against us?" Jake felt anger rise in his chest, both his own and something that seemed to come from Queen Lirelei through their bond. Senator Brooks, I can assure you that Queen Lirelei has shown nothing but kindness and respect toward humanity. The Zephyrians are an advanced, peaceful civilization that has existed for thousands of years. They don't need to use tricks or weapons against us. How can you be so certain, Commander? Admiral Cole asked. You spent less than a week total in contact with these aliens. That hardly makes you an expert on their true intentions. Dr. Martinez cleared his throat and looked around the table. If I may, Admiral, I think we're missing the bigger picture here. The Zephyrians chose to make contact with us specifically. According to Commander Morrison's reports, they've encountered many other species over their long history. The fact that they found humans genetically compatible suggests something significant about our species. Jake nodded, grateful for the scientist's support. Dr. Martinez is right. Queen Lirelei told me that most younger races they encounter are focused on conquest or resource gathering. She said humans are different because we seek connection and understanding. That's why they agreed to the first contact meeting. Admiral. Cole leaned back in her chair and studied Jake carefully. Commander, I want you to be completely honest with me. How do you feel about this situation? Setting aside duty and protocol, what are your personal feelings about becoming a father to an alien hybrid child? Jake thought for a moment, feeling the warm presence of Queen Lirelei in his mind and the faint sensation of something new and precious growing within their shared consciousness. Admiral, I won't lie and say I'm not scared. This is completely outside anything humans have ever experienced before. But I can feel the bond growing stronger every day, and I can sense that our child is healthy and developing normally. Queen Lirelei is an extraordinary being, and I trust her completely. Senator Brooks stopped pacing and turned to face Jake with suspicion in her eyes. How do we know this bond isn't some kind of alien mind control? How do we know you're still thinking clearly and making decisions in humanity's best interests? Because I'm still the same person I've always been, Senator, Jake replied firmly. The bond doesn't change my personality or my loyalty to Earth. It just allows me to sense Queen Lirelei's emotions and feel our child's development. If anything, it's made me more committed to building a strong alliance between our species. Dr. Martinez looked up from his notes again. Commander, have you experienced any physical changes since the bonding began? Enhanced abilities or altered perceptions? Jake hesitated for a moment, then decided to be completely honest. There have been some changes, Doctor. My reflexes seem faster, and I've been having unusually vivid dreams. Sometimes I feel like I can sense things that are happening far away, but nothing that seems dangerous or concerning. Admiral Cole made a note on her tablet, then looked directly at Jake. Commander, I'm going to authorize your return to the Zephyrian homeworld, but you'll be accompanied by a full scientific and security team. Dr. Martinez will lead the research group and Colonel Ryan Foster will handle security. We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with here. Thank you, Admiral, Jake said, feeling relief wash over him. I think it's important for both species that I'm present during the pregnancy. Queen Lirelei says the bonding process requires both parents to be involved. Senator Brooks sat back down heavily. Against my better judgment, I'll support this mission, but I want daily reports, and the moment anything seems suspicious, I want our people out of there immediately. We cannot afford to let our guard down just because these aliens appear friendly. Doctor. Martinez was practically bouncing in his chair with excitement. Commander, when can we leave? I have about 1,000 questions about Zephyrian biology and reproduction. This could revolutionize our understanding of life itself. Jake felt another wave of warmth from Queen Lirelei and somehow knew she was pleased that he would be returning soon. Dr. Martinez, I think Queen Lirelei will be happy to answer your questions. The Zephyrians seem eager to share knowledge with species they consider friends. Admiral Cole stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. Very well then. Commander Morrison, you have 1 week to prepare for departure. Dr. Martinez, assemble your team and Colonel Foster coordinate security measures. with the Zephyrian government. And everyone remember this information is classified at the highest levels until we decide how to handle public disclosure. As the meeting broke up, Jake felt the bond with Queen Lirelei pulse with happiness and anticipation. Soon he would return to the crystal world and begin the most incredible journey of his life, becoming a father to a child who would bridge two worlds and perhaps change the future of both species forever. 3 weeks had passed since Jake Morrison returned to Earth from the Zephyrian homeworld, and he still felt different somehow. The handshake with Queen Lirelei had left him with strange dreams filled with starlight and distant music. His fellow crew members from the Terra Nova had been debriefed and reassigned, but Jake found himself thinking about the crystal world and its beautiful queen more often than he cared to admit. He was sitting in his apartment in New Geneva looking over reports from the diplomatic mission when his personal communicator began flashing with an incoming transmission. Jake glanced at the display and froze. The origin code showed it was coming from deep space far beyond any human colony or outpost. His hands trembled slightly as he accepted the call. The holographic display activated, and suddenly, Queen Lirelei appeared in his living room. She looked exactly as he remembered her, with skin that seemed to be made of captured starlight and eyes that held the depth of space itself. But there was something different about her expression. She seemed to glow brighter than before, and there was a joy in her face that made Jake's heart skip a beat. "Commander Morrison," she said, and her voice carried the same musical quality that had enchanted him during their first meeting. "I hope you are well. There is something of great importance that I must share with you." Jake stood up quickly, nearly knocking over his chair in the process. "Your Majesty, it's wonderful to hear from you. Is everything all right on Zephyros? The diplomatic corps is still working on our formal alliance proposal." Queen Lirelei smiled, and the expression was so radiant that Jake felt warmth spread through his entire body. "Oh, my dear Commander, the alliance between our peoples is no longer just a political matter. It has become something far more personal and wonderful." She paused for a moment, and Jake could see emotions playing across her ethereal features. "When?" She spoke again. Her voice was filled with an excitement that seemed to make the very air around her shimmer. "We're having a baby human," she said, and her smile became even brighter, if such a thing was possible. Jake felt the world tilt around him, and he had to grab the back of his chair to keep from falling over. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty. I think there might be some translation error in the communication system. Did you say we're having a baby?" Queen Lirelei laughed, and the sound was like crystal bells chiming in a gentle breeze. "There is no error, Commander. When you took my hand in the greeting ritual 3 weeks ago, you participated in what my people call the Harmony Touch. It allows us to determine genetic compatibility with potential mates, and you, my dear human, proved to be remarkably compatible." Jake's mind raced as he tried to process what she was telling him. "But Your Majesty, we're different species. How is that even possible?" "The Zephyrian reproductive process is quite different from what humans experience," the Queen explained patiently. "We do not reproduce as single-species pairs. Instead, we require genetic material from a compatible alien race to create hybrid offspring. This has been our way for thousands of years, and it has made our children stronger and more adaptable with each generation." She moved closer to the holographic projector, and Jake could see her more clearly now. There was definitely something different about her appearance. Her light seemed warmer, and there was a soft golden glow around her midsection that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. "Your human DNA carries genetic markers that complement our crystalline biology perfectly, Queen," Lirelei continued. "The child we have created together will be the first human Zephyrian hybrid and will possess the best qualities of both our species. They will have your adaptability and curiosity combined with our energy manipulation abilities and extended lifespan." Jake sank into his chair as the full weight of her words hit him. "I'm going to be a father," he said quietly, and then louder, "I'm going to be a father to an alien-human hybrid baby." "Yes," Queen Lirelei said softly, "and I could not be more pleased with this development. In all my years of ruling Zephyros, have never found a genetic match so perfect. Our child will be extraordinary, Commander. How long, Jake asked, trying to wrap his mind around the situation. How long before the baby is born? Zephyrian gestation periods are longer than human pregnancies, the Queen replied. Our child will develop over the course of 1 Earth year. But Commander, there is something else you must understand. During this time, we will share consciousness. Bond, you will experience the pregnancy alongside me and feel our child's development as they grow. Jake felt a strange tingling sensation in the back of his mind as if something was awakening there. Is that what I've been feeling these past few weeks? The dreams and the strange sensations? Yes, Queen Lirelei nodded. The bond has already begun forming. Soon you will be able to sense my thoughts and emotions, and I yours. This is how Zephyrian. Couples share the experience of creating new life. It ensures that both parents are fully connected to their child from the moment of conception. The implications of what she was saying began to dawn on Jake. Your Majesty, this is going to cause quite a stir when Earth Command finds out. Humans have never dealt with anything like this before. Queen Lirelei's expression became more serious. I understand, Commander. This is why I wanted to tell you personally before making any official announcements. How you choose to handle this situation with your government is entirely up to you. But know that on Zephyros, this pregnancy is being celebrated as a momentous occasion. Jake ran his hands through his hair, trying to think clearly. What does this mean for the diplomatic relations between our species? Will this help or hurt the alliance negotiations? That depends entirely on how your people react to the news, the Queen said honestly. Some species we have encountered in the past have viewed hybrid offspring as an abomination. Others have seen them as a bridge between worlds. I hope humans will choose to see our child, as I do, as a symbol of the bond between our peoples. Jake felt another wave of that strange tingling sensation, and suddenly he could sense something else in his mind. It was like a warm presence filled with love and anticipation. He realized he was feeling Queen Lirelei's emotions through their developing bond. This is really happening, isn't it? He said more to himself than to her. We're actually having a baby together. Yes, my dear Commander, it is very real, Queen Lirelei replied. And I want you to know that regardless of how your government or people react, I will always consider you to be family now. Our child will know their human father and understand the best qualities of both their heritage. Jake looked at the holographic image of the alien queen who was carrying his child and felt a surge of protectiveness he had never experienced before. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew he would face them. This wasn't just about diplomacy. Anymore, this was about family. What do we do now? He asked. Queen Lirelei smiled again, and Jake felt her happiness flow through their bond like warm sunlight. Now we prepare for the most important job either of us will ever have. We become parents. The transmission ended, leaving Jake alone in his apartment with the most incredible news of his life. He was going to be a father to the first human-alien hybrid child in history. As he sat there trying to process everything that had just happened, he felt the bond with Queen Lirelei growing stronger and knew that his life had just changed forever in the most amazing way possible. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the starship Terra Nova and watched the alien planet grow larger on the main screen. The world looked like a giant crystal ball floating in space with blue and purple lights dancing across its surface. Jake had spent 3 years training for this moment, but his hands still shook a little as he adjusted his uniform. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface, said Lieutenant Amy Carter from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the excitement underneath. This was humanity's first real contact with an advanced alien species. And everyone on the ship knew they were making history. Put it through Amy, Jake said, and walked closer to the main screen. The image changed, and suddenly they were looking at something that took Jake's breath away. The being on the screen looked almost human, but was made of what appeared to be living light. She had a face that was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at directly, and her body seemed to shift between solid and pure energy. Greetings, travelers. From Earth, the being said, and her voice sounded like music mixed with the sound of wind chimes. "I am Queen Lirelei of the Zephyrian people. We have been waiting for your arrival and welcome you to our world." Jake stepped forward and tried to remember all his diplomatic training. "Your Majesty, I am Commander Jake Morrison, representing the United Earth Government. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations between our peoples." The Queen smiled, and Jake felt something strange happen in his chest, like a warm feeling spreading through his body. "We know of your peaceful intentions, Commander Morrison. Your species radiates an energy that speaks of curiosity and hope rather than conquest. This is rare among the younger races we have encountered." "Younger races?" Jake asked before he could stop himself. The diplomatic team had briefed him to let the aliens lead the conversation, but his curiosity got the better of him. Queen Lirelei laughed, and the sound was like silver bells ringing. "Forgive me, Commander. We Zephyrians have existed for over 50,000 of your years. To us, most species are young, but this is not meant as an insult. Youth brings energy and new perspectives that we greatly value." Jake felt his team behind him relax a little at the Queen's friendly tone. Dr. Lisa Brooks, the mission xenobiologist, was practically vibrating with excitement, while Colonel Peter Hayes, the military advisor, looked relieved that they weren't facing a hostile first contact situation. "We would be honored to visit your world and learn more about your people," Jake said. "We have brought gifts from Earth and samples of our art and culture to share." "Wonderful," Queen Lirelei said, and her form seemed to brighten. "Please bring a small delegation to the surface. Our atmospheric processors will ensure you can breathe comfortably, and our gravity is similar to your home world. I will meet you personally at our main temple." The transmission ended, and Jake turned to his team. Dr. Brooks was already pulling up data about the planet's surface while Colonel Hayes was checking weapons protocols. Jake held up his hand to stop any discussion. "This is a diplomatic mission. First and foremost," he said firmly, "we go down with minimal security and maximum respect. Dr. Brooks, you're with me along with Lieutenant Carter and Sergeant Mike Johnson for security. Colonel Hayes, you stay here and monitor from orbit." 2 hours later, Jake found himself standing in a transport pod descending toward the crystal planet. The surface became clearer as they got closer, and Jake realized the entire world seemed to be made of some kind of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Cities stretched across the landscape, but they looked like they had been grown then built with spiraling towers that twisted up toward the sky. "Commander, look at these readings," Dr. Brooks said excitedly. "The entire planet is generating some kind of harmonic frequency. It's like the whole world is singing." Jake could feel it too, a subtle vibration that seemed to resonate in his bones. As their pod touched down on a landing platform made of the same crystal material, Jake saw figures approaching. They looked similar to Queen Lirelei, but smaller, and their light was less intense. Each one seemed to be a different color, ranging from soft blues to warm golds. The transport pod opened, and Jake stepped out onto the alien world. The air tasted clean and slightly sweet, and he could feel energy in the atmosphere that made his skin tingle. The Zephyrian delegation approached, and Jake noticed they moved with a flowing grace that seemed almost like dancing. "Welcome to Zephyros, Commander Morrison," said the lead figure, who appeared to be male, though Jake found it hard to be certain. "I am Counselor Jorg, and I will escort you to Queen Lirelei." They walked through what Jake could only describe as a living city. The crystal structures around them pulsed with gentle light and seemed to respond to the presence of the Zephyrians. Paths formed under their feet as they walked and dissolved behind them. Gardens filled with plants that looked like they were made of spun glass created a musical harmony as the wind moved through them. "Your world is incredible," Jake said to Counselor Jorg. "How long did it take to build all this?" Jorg tilted his head in what might have been confusion. "Build, Commander? This city grew naturally over thousands of years. We simply guided its development through our connection to the planetary consciousness." Dr. Brooks nearly tripped when she heard this. "Planetary consciousness? You mean your world is alive?" "All worlds are alive, Dr. Brooks," Jorg replied gently. Most species simply cannot hear their planet's voice. We Zephyrians learn to listen and work in harmony with our world rather than against it. They arrived at the temple, which rose from the ground like a massive crystal flower frozen in the moment of blooming. Jake could see Queen Lirelei waiting at the entrance, and she seemed even more magnificent in person. Her form shifted constantly between solid and energy, but her smile was warm and welcoming. "Commander Morrison," she said as they approached, "you honor us with your presence. Please come inside so we may speak privately." Jake followed the queen into the temple and was amazed by what he saw inside. The walls were transparent crystal that showed swirling galaxies and distant stars. It was like standing inside a window to the universe. Queen Lirelei gestured for him to sit on what appeared to be a chair made of condensed light. "Tell me about your people, Commander," the queen said, settling onto her own crystalline throne. "What drives humanity to reach for the stars?" Jake thought for a moment before answering. "Curiosity, I think. We want to know what's out there, and we want to be part of something bigger than just our one world. We've always been explorers and dreamers." Queen Lirelei nodded approvingly. "This is what we sensed about your species. Many races seek the stars for conquest or resources, but humans seek connection and understanding. This is why we agreed to this meeting." "There are others out there then?" Jake asked. "Other species traveling between stars?" "Oh yes, Commander, many others. Some are friends, some are neutral, and some—" the queen's expression darkened slightly. "Some are quite dangerous. But we will speak of such things later. For now, let us focus on the bond between our peoples." She stood and extended her hand toward Jake. "There is a ritual of greeting among my people that allows us to better understand those we meet. Would you be willing to participate?" Jake looked at her outstretched hand, which seemed to be made of pure starlight. Every diplomatic protocol he had learned told him to be cautious about alien rituals, but something about Queen Lirelei made him trust her completely. "I would be honored, Your Majesty," he said, and reached out to take her hand.